Morning, morning, morning. The doctor is in, Dr. Biscombe. So, what are we here to talk about today? Well, I thought I'd park the more sales orientated stuff now, because I've been around the mill on that for a lot of time now. So, I think when it comes to a position that we and you may find yourselves in the future, where you've got new staff joining the business, lots of new staff, and you always have this worry about culture shifts. You work very hard to create a culture with the 2, 3, 4 people that you might have amongst yourselves, and that might become 10, and it might shift a little bit, but ultimately it kind of defaults back to what it was. But then if you start going to 20 or 30 people, you can get a real diversity there, and then you have this sort of worry. So that's why in these situations, and this is great advice for individuals as well as sort of managers and teams, is it's important to pull back from the day-to-day what it is that we're doing and revert right back to attitudes, behaviours, the why, and start thinking about philosophy, most importantly. So the philosophy of sales, if you're in sales, or what is your fundamental philosophy in your life? And I've never met anyone to date in my life that's had an answer to that when I've asked a question. So that's why I always talk about it, because I think once you've worked out what your fundamental purpose is, it makes your life so much better. And it's all about context, guys. You could be in the pits financially, relationship-wise, or whatever, but if you've established your fundamental philosophy, your fundamental reason for being on this mortal plane, then you actually take a lot of comfort, more comfort than you would give it credit for if you haven't done it and you're in a bad spot. You might be sitting there thinking quite cynically about what I'm saying, but there'll come a point where, well, either you'll do it off your own back, or you'll hit rock bottom to such a degree that you'll start to seek alternative methods of happiness and progression. If all the stuff, the what's, all the things that you were doing failed, and you hit the floor, then you might begin to become a little bit more philosophical, and that's very much what happened to me. So that's very important. For me personally, there's a couple of things that I subscribe to as fundamentals, is to always do the right thing, and secondary to that is to always strive for a state of constant renewal and improvement, deconstruction and reconstruction. It's a very good way to be. People often think that the foundations that they build and the buildings that they build, in terms of metaphorical buildings, that it's too much effort to break that down and start again, when it's not. There are some emerging countries in the world today that will build cities and knock them down and rebuild them, whole cities. Okay, we're not just going to knock that bit of forest down and those 20 houses and build a bypass around the town. Let's just level the town. Start again. Give everyone, we'll knock your house down, but we'll give you a house that's twice the size for free. That sort of thing. It's a great way to be. This constant state of renewal, right? Very, very important. So those are my two fundamentals, is to constantly strive for renewal and improvement of everything. That's me, the people that I come into contact with, and the world that we exist in. Yeah? Every day, end higher than you began, right? And it's a great way to look at it. And the second fundamental for me is to always do the right thing. Now, doing the right thing is harder than it sounds, because doing the right thing, you're making a cup of coffee in the morning. Shall I make one for my missus, my brother, my mum? Yeah, you should. Even if they're still asleep, just make it. Even if they come down and it's cold, they'll go, oh. You see what I mean? That's the right thing to do, and it's no skin off your nose. You might think, well, they're asleep and I'm awake, so why should I make them a cup of coffee? And it's, well, okay, but where's that getting you? You know what I mean? So always do the right thing. That's relatively simple. A harder thing to do would be if you had, let's say you had a boss that was constantly abusing a member of your team or whatever, and you didn't like it. The right thing to do would be to stand up for that person, but that might get you sacked, mightn't it? And even if you did get sacked, how would you feel? Would you feel good or would you feel bad? Chances are you'd feel good, yeah? Well, I got sacked, but didn't like that boss anyway. The job kind of sucked, and the guy was nasty, and I helped somebody. Maybe that person that you helped left with you, and then you started a business up together and became millionaires. Who knows? But starting with a fundamental and not worrying about where it's going to take you is what's important. So that's my 6-minute video for today. See you soon.